How are you doing today? All right. Yes, we got Josh up. Yes, hello, Josh. Hello. Thank you so much for your patience. Um, we got, modern technology. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it don't. If you're talking, I cannot hear you. Make sure you don't have any headphones in or like it's not connected to you. There you
Can you
go.
hear me now?
I can.
Okay.
All right.
I'm trying to pull up my green screen. I worked
I ain't
on
even
getting
go
it.
get it done, mister. Huh? Yeah. So make sure so you hit the camera. There you look.
There we go.
You look. Let me tell you. Every time a candidate come over here and do it, and I ain't gotta walk them through it, they got my vote. Y'all vote for y'all vote for him, Mr. Josh, okay? Because if he can figure it out, he can figure out how to make my rent cheaper. So, welcome to the show, to the town hall. Today we are featuring our town hall with John Hash. He is running for a state representative seat in District 50 of Texas. Let me tell you a little bit about John. I was talking about Josh. I'm putting your two names together.
It
John.
happens. Yeah. John.
That I found out, John has lived in Austin for almost 15 years, with most of the time in the Wells Branch neighborhood. He is a stay-at-home parent with a spirited, funny daughter. Has a teen. As a teen, he was a Eagle Scout and learned the value of civil service. And he will be using those values that he learned in the hope of applying them to future generations of Texans. After graduating from the University of Texas in Austin, he spent years working in youth outreach, first as a public public high school in San Antonio, and then at the University of Texas at Austin. In both roles, he helped first generation students navigate college and career paths. So it looked like you are a true helper here.
I would say, that's the way I was raised, kind of giving back to the community in any ways that I can. And that has been my life, really, giving back to especially people who don't have the same opportunities that I might have had. I want to make sure that they had that. And so that was a bit of, my experience.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, I'm showing that there is no incumbent in this seat at this time.
There is no incumbent at this time, but we have quite the slate of Democratic candidates for our primary. Wonderful slate of people that have all seen what is happening, not just in the country, but also our state of Texas, and made that step forward to say, I'm going to represent, I'm going to run. So I'm one of 6 candidates running on the Democratic primary.
Okay, all right. Well, then, yeah, you got a little battle. It's not just a walk-in; it's a little battle happening. You want to tell us later why they should pick you, but we're going to say that for later. Is there anything I did not say that you would like for everyone to know?
You kind of covered it. You talked about me growing up. I grew up. I'm an Eagle Scout. A lot of that was influenced from my father. One of the reasons why I try to give back to the community is that's what he did. He was in the military, so we moved around a lot growing up. But everywhere we lived, he gave back to the community, and that was his way of ensuring that, especially his kids, could be involved. So whether that was youth outreach programs, Little League, he led Little League or Buddy Warner. He was involved in service organizations like Rotary and Kiwanis. So that was my growing up, was always giving back to community. And I think that instilled a lot for me, becoming an Eagle Scout. And then again, as you mentioned, I spent over a decade with the University of Texas. I did outreach programs for high school students across the state, everywhere from Houston to border towns like Eagle Pass. I worked with students to give them opportunities, whether it was mentoring, college advising. We had science camps that we ran. It was always about trying to give them the opportunity that they would not normally have. And I'm sure you were going to jump into a lot of why I decided to run, and a lot of it has to do with my interactions with students, for years and seen what they were going through, what their struggles and their families were going through, and then also how leadership reacted to them, because that was one of the reasons.
All right. Now it says you've been there almost 15 years. Where did you come from?
So I was originally born in California, but as I mentioned, my dad worked for the military.
Okay,
So we
California.
moved around between Texas and California back and forth several times. I ended up graduating high school in San Antonio before I attended the University of Texas at Austin. And depending upon who you talk to, whether I can claim to be a Texan or not, I have spent the majority of my life in Texas. We moved here in 2005 when I came down before I finished high school. So 20 years kind of straight across in Texas with a few small stints when I was a child in Waco and in Bernie. But so I've been here for quite some time. But no, I wasn't officially born in Texas.
Now I usually ask a icebreaker question, but I often ask this to people who are not originally from the state they are running for. How important do you think that is? Can someone that possibly grew up somewhere else still represent the people of that state, even though they wasn't born and raised there?
I definitely think so.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully, when it comes to people running for office, the main passion behind it is that they want to represent the people of that area. So I think that's the biggest driver of that somebody can represent a district, a state, even if they weren't born there. If they have spent that time and they're invested into the people of that area, that's what really makes it a difference. And I think that's, can be entirely yes, that they can represent the people even though they weren't born there because they have passion, they have love for the people and for the state. Yeah. That's actually one of the things I talk about is, I love this state. I've spent so much time here. I absolutely love Texas. Right now, I'm not super proud of her. There are some things I would like to change, but I still
He's there right now, right? He's there. He's there. He's there. I mean, like he's on a pier. Like if somebody could just okay, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I love the TikTok shop. So let me tell you and everyone else who we are. We are Our Vote Counts. We are a nonpartisan coalition of citizens in diverse states and backgrounds, united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity, inclusion, and accountability in the upcoming elections. Somebody to my Formed by a collective of educators, veterans, small business owners, students, and community advocates, Our Vote Count represents the strength of unity across geography, race, ideology. While our stories are different, our mission is the same: to ensure that every voice is heard and every vote truly counts. Through voter education, candidate outreach, and community engagement, we support leaders who are ready to serve the people, not special interests. By working across state lines, elevating local and national issues, we aim to increase voter turnout, inform public dialogue, and build momentum for lasting change. Our Vote Count is more than just a name. It's a promise. It's a movement and a rallying cry for democracy. Together, we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening to have a conversation with me and John Hash, who is running for Texas State Representative out of District 5, which is the Austin area.
50.
I'm 50. I said 5, but I meant 50, y'all. Out of District 50. Y'all see it up there. That's the encompassing Austin or Travis County.
There's a little bit of a town called Pflugerville. For those that know the Austin area, Pflugerville is also a portion of District 50.
Okay, also Pflugerville. All right. Let's see. That it has a population of about 202,000 people. So it's a fairly decent district, and enough people to have to represent. It seems very diverse. So you'll be representing a whole array of people.
We are a very diverse district. We have a large Latina community. We have Black African American community. We have our Asian American communities. That because Austin is a diverse area, sometimes it's small pockets, and they just happen to really be located a lot in District 50. The other day, I got to join the breaking of fast for Ramadan with our North Austin Muslim Community Center. So we got to engage with that community, which happens to be in District 50. So we are a very diverse district. And as you mentioned, 200,000, roughly 200,000 people. And that's all the districts in Texas are roughly that size. It's we are a geographically small district, very densely populated.
Well, again, thank you everybody for being here. Make sure y'all tapping the screen. You're sharing this out. And if you have any questions for John, I invite you up to come ask those questions, or you can put the questions in the chat, and I will pose those questions to him. Our resident Muslim said, I guess, thank you for observing the breaking of the fast of Ramadan. She might be glad it's over. She could eat her meat or something and do a little cuss word.
That is, I will say, joining for that particular instance, seeing the community that was there and involved was really eye-opening. I had never had that opportunity to do that. So we were invited, and I was able to attend. Very inspirational, because we were able to join them. And, the first things we got to eat, they had dates, learning that that's a very traditional thing because it's very sugary. It helps them regain after spending the entire day not eating or drinking. So it was a wonderful time to be able to kind of build that community that we have here in Austin.
That's awesome. Great. All right. Well, we're going to dive right into these questions. We're going to have 5 topics that we're going to cover. And between those 5 topics, I do have what we call our rapid fire session, which is going to be questions that have like short 1 word or yes or no answers to them. So it's to be quick and rapid fire. Okay. So our first topic we're going to talk about is education. District 50 schools serve a rapidly growing and diverse student population. How will you advocate at the Texas House of Representatives to ensure public schools receive equitable funding for class size reduction, updated materials, and campus safety?
So that's actually one, I'm so glad we started on education, an area I'm very passionate about. So the first thing we need to recognize is that one of the reasons why I got into this is that into running for office is that the state of Texas instituted a voucher system program, which I do not agree with. When we talk about equitable opportunities for students in schools, when we start removing funding from these schools, then we are taking away opportunities for students to be able to have classroom sizes that are reduced because our teachers are overworked. They have large classrooms, up to 30, 35 students sometimes. So first things I would like to do is, 1, remove the voucher system, which has been put into place. Right now, that takes about $1 billion from our public education system and allows it to go to families to then utilize for private schools, other areas. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against wanting to use a private school. That is a parent's choice and they're right, but I have an issue when we are taking away from our tax money that then goes to private schools, because we then lose accountability. So that's the first thing I want to address. Second, the state of Texas utilizes very heavily property tax to fund our education. And we have a program called Recapture, which is antiquated. It's very old. It does not accommodate or account for the drastic changes in property wealth here in Austin area or some areas like Dallas, where we have a district that straddles 2 very different levels of property tax income. So some of our schools are having to fork over and what's called recapture that money. Once it hits a certain dollar amount per student, and everything over that goes back to the state. So our students that live in areas where property tax is or property appraisal values is very high, they are forking over more money back to the state. And that can create issues for areas where we have students that still, even though property taxes or property appraisal value is high, live in areas that are parents working second jobs. Affordability is very difficult. And so we need to reallocate or re-administer our allocation for the students in these schools to make sure that we can provide for teachers, that they can provide for school supplies.
Mhm.
The fact that teachers have to purchase their own supplies throughout the year drives me crazy. Working and talking to them in Houston or rural areas in San Antonio with our programs to the university, they tell me, "Oh yeah, we have to count paper clips because we only get a certain amount each year." That it boggles my mind that we have such disparity within these schools, even within the same district. So, one, reviewing or removing voucher programs so we can keep our money in public education. Two, reevaluating and increasing the allotment that we have for our current structure, which is recapture. Overall, I would like us to try and find a better way to fund our public schools rather than relying upon our property taxes here in the state of Texas, because that is a growing number. It is pushing people to very tough decisions on whether they can live and stay here in the Austin area. So we need to reevaluate how we are funding our schools. But starting with determining the allocation or increasing that allocation so that schools can hold on to their money. Schools can utilize that how they see fit on a much faster pace. So those are the first two things I would immediately do, because if we are able to allow our districts to retain their money, they can hire more teachers. And in that question, you talked about reducing class size. Other things that we need to address, other than just reducing class size, is our reduction in special education programs throughout the state, because we have lost special education where students need a little bit of extra help because they suffer from, or they are diagnosed with ADHD or dyslexia and dysgraphia. We have reduced the amount of special education, so these students are put into normal classrooms and they are falling behind. And then lastly, reigniting a lot of our ESL teachers are being taken out just because the funding isn't there. ESL teachers are losing their jobs because of funding issues. And then now students who are English as second language or third language are falling behind because, again, they're being put into normal classrooms at regular speed and they can't keep up. We've just talked about, we have such a diverse community, a community that English is one of many languages that are spoken, but we need to make sure that the students who are here have that capability to learn at a pace that they can grasp, rather than being thrown into and left for their own devices that really they're struggling to keep up. So those are some of the things I would like to see in our next legislative session.
Absolutely. It does seem like education's, so many people wanted to be such a cookie cutter thing. And I mean, we're in 2026 now. Like, you got to know by now, it's not a cookie cutter thing. What one place needs, another place may not.
And I'd like to, for those in the chat, for those of you who are from Texas, that Texas, we are such a big state, 30 million people, second largest geographically. We have such a diverse area and diverse needs. So when we try to put, as you say, a cookie cutter onto our school districts, when we talk about what rural school districts need versus what some of our schools in metro areas, there are different needs, and we need to address those. And we need to understand that we can't just have a one size fits all.
Absolutely. I was just also going to say that I remember the first time I had got the school list at home, because, while the teachers also are having to, pay for their own supplies, they didn't put the burden on the parents too, to come up with paper towels or tissues and all of that stuff. And I was like, wait, what? Why are we doing this? Like, what? Like, the budget already, we had to just do school uniforms, and I got to buy these supplies too. So yeah, we got to figure something else out. Now, research shows that early education is critical for long-term success. Do you support expanding full-day pre-K and childcare affordability in District 50, and how would you help fund it at the state level?
So I would definitely support trying to extend our childcare affordability and here in the state of Texas, because one, childcare is an expensive, and as you mentioned earlier, I'm a stay-at-home dad. We made that economic decision when my wife had our daughter, that one of us would probably be staying home because of how much childcare is and what we want. We were able to make that decision, but being a stay-at-home parent, I also realized that not everybody is able to make this decision, and many parents are working two jobs to try and accommodate, especially for how much childcare can cost in the city. So we need to address that. Affordability is a big issue here in Austin and in the Austin area. With childcare being one of those, we could talk about rents, mortgages, these kinds of things. But families, we have a lot of families here in the Central Texas and Austin area that childcare is an issue. And so allowing for full day childcare and how we're going to try and afford and pay for this. And that's a great question. We need to try and realize that the state of Texas does have what's considered a rainy day fund. Some of that is already earmarked, but we need to look into a lot of our this is going to be one thing, talking about property taxes being for our public schools. But we have many institutions or many corporations who have come into Texas. Recently, Tesla came in and they received all kinds of tax breaks that reduced their particular input into our economy. And these we need to readdress because we have corporations that are coming in. Yes, they're providing jobs, but they are receiving immense amount of tax breaks that we need to reallocate, recoup, and provide for the people that are here, the people that live in Central Texas. So that's something I would kind of think about. And we can talk about this because Texas, we are the number 2 economy in the United States. We have one of the largest. We're 2 in the United States. I think if we were our own country, GDP wise, we're number 8 or something like that. So yeah, we have the opportunity and the ability to be able to do these things. And so we should be able to provide opportunity for families to have childcare starting at a young age.
I mean, at the minimum, Texas. If we can't do the whole country, at least Texas could do that, right? Well, again, if anyone has any questions for John, y'all please request up. We were just talking about education. If you have any questions and you don't want to come up, you could definitely put them in the chat, and I will get those questions to him, even if we're about to go into healthcare. But if you have any questions about education, please put them in the chat. According to my research, he said that there will be a bill that will be filed to remove school vouchers on day 1.
I mean, if I'm elected, that's one of the first things that I'm going to be doing is relying that is roughly $1 billion that they have set aside for vouchers. So we're talking a massive amount that is coming out of our public education system. And before we hop off onto healthcare, which I'd love to talk about, I do want to bring up one more thing that I believe is very important for the state of Texas, for parents out there, for people who pay taxes, especially property taxes, which everybody does in some way or fashion, is our charter schools here in Texas. They've been around for about 30 to 35 years, and they were a great idea when they were developed. It was trying to address that cookie cutter that we talked about. They wanted to have more unique opportunities for students to learn. But the accountability over them is almost zero. And that is about $5 to $5.5 billion of our public tax dollars that are meant for education do go to charter schools, yet they impact roughly half the number of public education school students per dollar. So we're spending a lot more on our charter schools. And the one big issue that I have is that many of the charter schools are run from out of state. So through that $5 billion, tens of millions then go to Florida and Colorado and other places because the basis of that charter school is located outside of Texas. So I want to make sure that we are, and all of this goes to accountability for resources. Charter schools have a lot of flexibility, not the same restrictions that our public schools do. So I want to bring that back into focus to say, charter schools, we're going to put a little moratorium on your expansions, and let's make sure that we are accountable for the dollars that you spend are your numbers representative and equal to our public schools, and make sure that we are trying to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges, on when they're showing their data. So I want to put a pause on that, because right now that is a lot of money that is then going to charter schools, goes out of state. The accountability, I mean, there are reports that they buy, apartments to stock files. It's like, that's not great stewardship of the money that you have. If you need extra space for file storage, there are areas that you can do that. You don't need a high-rise apartment to stock files. You don't need, a horse barn for your school so the kids can ride horses and pay an extra $10,000 a semester to ride horses. These are not great. This is not great stewardship of the money that is provided from tax payers.
Absolutely. Shallow from Texas says she's glad to see you on here. I believe Shallow is coming up, or we just had her, one of the two, on here. But
and I think, is she, Shallow, are you from, you remind me, but I think you're more West Texas, where she's located. So
yeah, no, she was just on yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So yep, we are one big Texas family here. I swear, y'all. Well, we have so many people from Texas on coming on, and I'm with it. I'm ready to turn Texas blue.
We are, and I understand our vote counts, very nonpartisan, but I do want to give a shout out to the Democrats here in Texas. We have one of the first times ever. We have, of course, our U.S. Senate, but every congressional House seat has a Democrat on the ballot. And then down at the state level, every state representative and every state Senate seat that is up has a Democrat on the ballot. We have seen such a push from people running, many of us first-time candidates. We're not always involved in politics before we, a lot of us coming are from different backgrounds, different industries. And to throw this out here, we are seeing a huge turnout because our primaries are taking place right now. We have such an increase in primary voter turnout from previous years, which is
that's awesome.
So great for us to see that we're like, okay, we're now starting to get engaged, and it's kind of like lit a fire under people.
This is definitely lit a fire under America. I promise you that. And while our vote count is nonpartisan, Melanie is not. Okay. So, healthcare. How will you work to ensure children, seniors, and people with disabilities in District 5 can access Medicaid, CHIP, and preventive care without unnecessary barriers?
So Texas is one of, I think, 10 states that has not signed on to the Affordable Care Act. So we are, in some sense, I don't know if it's pride that has kept us from trying to do this, but that is a 90% funded federally versus 10% ours. To me, that is two things. It is a decision that is both economical and for compassion. We need to talk about making sure that we are providing for children, seniors, everybody in between to have affordable healthcare here in the state of Texas. We have the highest number of uninsured, so this would then add on to, or this would reduce that number of uninsured. So that's the first thing that we want to do. And something that has been bounced around is actually to put it to a vote for the people, because so many residents want to see this happen. Texans want to see this happen, but we've had blocks from our legislative branch that has not pushed it through. Much of that has come because they believe the amount of fraud that is within it, which is a smaller amount than what we would actually receive, is a barrier. But so first, or signing on to the ACA when it comes to that. Second, we've had a push in recent years to try and be more transparent with the cost of things like medication. In fact, the previous representative from District 50, his name's James Tallarico. He's now, the reason why there is no incumbent is he is running for
Senate. Yes.
anyways, he pushed, one of his big things was pushing for the cost of insulin because of his particular scare with diabetes that it deeply impacted him. So we've had push for price transparency, and we need to continue that push when it comes to when people are trying to decide, do I afford rent or is it medication? And many times, if they're fearful of going to see a doctor because of what the bill might be, that's an issue. It shouldn't be what the bill might be. We need to have upfront what is the possibility of cost so that people can make thoughtful decisions when it comes to their own healthcare. And then we need to talk about preventative care. When we allow people to have insurance, they're more likely to attend and see a physician at a regular basis, catching things before that they need to go to the emergency room. These things are economical decisions because if we're able to catch it earlier, we do not have the influx on our ERs that sometimes can get backed up, and ER visits are much more expensive. So make sure that we have preventative care. And that can be, and there's a couple of things we need to talk about preventative care. One, local organizations that try and increase connections with doctors' offices and communities. There are several around. They are kind of like the branch that can help build connections between communities that are sometimes even fearful of seeing doctors because of historically it hasn't been a great experience. So we need to rebuild that trust. And a lot of that, it's not going to be the state government that's going to say trust doctors. Sometimes it needs to be local organizations that are the boots on the ground working that through the community. So we need to be supportive of those organizations, building that trust in physicians with some communities. Second, preventative care, sometimes I feel gets overlooked with proper nutrition. We have many food deserts here in the state of Texas where people do not have a local grocery store where they can have fresh fruit, vegetables, they can have good, nutritious food to purchase from. Proper nutrition is part of healthcare, and we need to have that as a mindset. It should not be separate. It should be part of that conversation. So we need to address our nutrition and nutrition availability here in the state because unfortunately Texas we are one of the more obese states, so we need to address what our nutrition intake is and how we are dealing with that, and that just starts with the availability of affordable nutritious foods. And then last, we need to make sure that, and I know this is healthcare and we talked about affordability, but we need to make sure that we have the next generation of doctors coming out here in Texas. We need physicians, nurse practitioners to want to be able to work in Texas. And unfortunately, because of our current regulations on things like medical care for women, abortion care for women, that has pressured doctors to not want to work in Texas, not want to come here. Right. So we need to readdress because you cannot have proper healthcare when we have a short supply of physicians, when we have a short supply of nurses, because they're fearful of what might happen if they do step in to provide support. So those are some of the things that we need to address right off the bat. So running through them again for anybody that might have missed, it is signing on to the Affordable Care Act, making sure that we have that. It is price transparency, making sure that people understand what the cost of these medications might be, and then preventative care, working with local organizations to build trust back into our doctors and physicians, and then proper nutrition here in the state of Texas. So those are some of the things that I would like to see.
Absolutely. Now, Shiloh, I think he answered yes to your question. She said, John, would you be with me as one of the first things we do in office is passing the ACA expansion? So I think you was already on it.
If we could pass it, yes, if we could pass it. But as we saw in the last session, I think, I was watching videos of John Busey, representative here from the Round Rock area, and they were on the floor, and it was very tough to watch sometimes because the opposition just views it as, well, there's fraud. Okay, we can address fraud as one issue, but we are talking about providing insurance, and that was the barrier for many of the Republicans to do this. And so one thing that has bounced around in a few of the circles that we talked about is putting it to the people. The people here in Texas want to see this. And as I said, first, it is both an economical decision, but it is a compassionate decision. We as Texans, and for those of you not from Texas, Tejas, the word Texas, Tejas, it's a Caddo indigenous word. It means friendship. It is, we should be friends of people here in the state, and friendship is also taking care of each other. And that is, healthcare. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd be right there with you.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we didn't touch on is with the growing mental health and addiction needs. What policies do you support to expand community-based mental health services and crisis response options in your district?
So the first thing I want to address when it comes to mental health is going to be, again, we have a disconnect between some of our communities and available people. They are a little fearful for coming out. So we need to reignite and reengage, not as a government saying this is what we need to do. We need to entrust that there are several organizations like ECHO here in the Austin area that is working with the people who are suffering from any kind of mental illness or being unhoused. So we need to first address that there is some kind of fear built between that. And we've seen that with Greg Abbott in his pushes to just sweep it under the rug, sweep it. He doesn't like it on his doorstep, so he puts it out of his sight. And that's not how we should be doing this. I've seen so many times that they have gone through cleanups of certain areas, removing people. And what is that for? We have people, we have organizations, Mobile Loaves and Fishes on the east side of Austin provides opportunities for people to re-engage into the community, re-engage into maybe active learning of a skill, so that they can hopefully obtain a job if need be, if that's part of it. And then finding their own, housing. But all of that, we need to first address some of the initial problems for that, and addressing initial problems of where does it start? Mental health issues aren't just something you develop when you're 18 and you're out on your own. They start in young ages. So we need to identify and work with students who are possibly suffering from experiences at home that push them away. So we need to, one, start identifying at younger ages if there are issues and how we can help provide for them. We also need to talk about affordability. Here in the Austin area, we have people who are unhoused, and it is because retaining a job can be difficult, and if they end up unhoused, opportunities for them really go away. And so we need to have opportunities. So again, that kind of goes back to what I was saying about Mobile Loaves and Fishes is one organization that I want to talk about with their community first area, and they provide opportunities for people to learn a skill, have housing that they can slowly integrate themselves back into communities. And we need to try and, again, find local organizations that are doing the work on the ground and saying, we're going to support you. We're going to continue working with you because we've seen the data. We've seen what you have been able to already start with and do. Let's continue pushing these ways because we know it works. I think there was a second part of your question.
Well, it was about addiction, but we make sure we don't use the DRUGS word. Just candy, substance, something like that.
Substance abuse, or a thing that we have here in the state of Texas. One, I would like us to see a legalization of the trees, of the leaf, because one, we are 200 or something, over $200 million is spent by the state trying to address this as an issue, when we can, one, turn it into an economic viability, tax it, and then we are revamping the view of that for people who might suffer and need it medically. So we need to have a different stance on substance abuse. That is not something that, again, needs to be swept under the rug or thrown into a cell. They have needs, and this all goes back to trying to make sure that we're identifying that at young ages. Frankly, we also need to address our foster care system because so many of our foster care within a year end up unhoused because they are not prepared, and they end up into substance abuse, and they are, it becomes a bit of a cycle. We need to break it, but a lot of that starts at the beginning, making sure that young men and women that are coming out of our foster care system have placement, have jobs lined up, or school lined up, that they are onto their next step and not just handed out the door with the bags and saying, we got you this far.
Good luck.
This is not compassion, and this is not the way that leadership should run. Leadership is about compassion to the people that you represent, and right now we don't have it.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, the guy in the office is in Texas today, and he brought some folks up there that he's endorsing, and they got up there and said, "I have your back." Not mine, not yours, his. They got his back. You supposed to be getting our backs.
Yeah, that's again, the view, how leadership should work. It is not how when I kind of came into being an adult and realizing, my very first election I got to vote in was in 2008. I'm probably putting myself in an age range here. I got to vote, the very first one I got to vote for 2008, and I saw respect from both sides. I saw, what true leadership to me was from both sides, integrity, and you just don't see that. So
no. I want to say my first vote was Clinton's second. So that tells you my age group, right? But I definitely voted in the Bush Gore situation, and even then, that didn't feel as divisive as it does right now.
It has not. And
well, John, we're going to do our first round of rapid fire right now. Okay, just break it up a little bit. So these questions, like I said, just try to whatever come off the top of your head.
And this is live. Okay, I hope this goes.
This is a test. So y'all be ready for these political questions we have here in the town hall. This is to get you off your feet. See how you work on your feet. What should Texas minimum wage be?
Ooh, okay. So I have a whole thing. We can't say $20 an hour. We could do it, but I would like to see something that's broken down by region. Texas is such a large state. We have very different degrees of income. We have different degrees of affordability here in Austin, here in the Dallas area, very high when it comes to cost of living versus small towns. And I'll name off a handful of small towns where you can still have a rent that's really affordable for $400 a month out in like Hamilton or Hillco, Stephenville area, where you can still have very affordable areas that might have an issue if $20 an hour is too high. So I would like actually to kind of break Texas up a little bit and base it off of cost of living. And we need to define what living is. Living is not ramen every single day and a small little shack with the same clothes every single day. Living is being able to put away some for savings, for rainy days. That's what living is. When people tell you what you eat ramen every day, no, that's surviving. So if you want to say what the cost of surviving is, then okay. But the cost of living should really take into account living. Yes. Being able to save for a vehicle, if the vehicle breaks down, being able to afford those things, that's living, not surviving. So I would like to see Texas broken up into some regions so we can address it region by region and what the cost of living should be. And yes, it should be vastly increased, anywhere from up to $15 to up to $20, depending upon these areas.
And I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, y'all, but
sorry, I know
you don't think that would create a surge to the bigger cities that have the higher pay?
It might, but remember they also have the higher cost of living. They have that, and some people, God, I love Hill Country in Texas. Hill Country in Texas is very beautiful. It is something I've thought about. And people love to go out there and work because. And we see this in cities no matter what. We see people that move to cities because their job availability is there, higher wages are there, whereas some smaller areas might not be, and that might be a great place for people to still find a place for a family,
Yes.
because it's affordable. It might be a great place for community building. When we talk about immigration, when we want to bring people, like, what is affordable? It's affordable here. We can get a job out here. We can afford to live here. So you're right. But again, I have to remember that Texas is so large. You can fit 12 of those 13 Northeast states in Texas.
Right.
And, and 30 million people. So it's again, I don't want to say that it's going to be one cookie cutter, for everything.
Answer. Correct.
So.
Should Texas have state income taxes?
No.
Okay. No.
No, that's going to be unless if we are going to add it, then we really need to change things like our property tax. We have very high property taxes, compared to some other states. But we can still be a state that doesn't need to have a state income tax, but can still provide for our people, and allow them to really kind of keep more of their money. So yeah, we don't need it.
Okay. What's the biggest issue? Voter turnout or uninformed voters?
Yes, yes. Voter turnout okay. Primarily because we saw in our primaries, we're having such a big turnout, but it used to be bad. Primary turnout was like 12%, 10% somewhere.
When I did some research on Texas, I was like really shocked to realize that there were more Democrats registered in Texas than it was Republicans. Yeah. And so I had some very good Texas friends tell me, Texas is not a red state, it's a non-voting state. And I said, oh, okay. So for Texas, voter turnout.
Voter turnout.
Okay. Would you support Texas paying for more of a border wall?
No. I don't believe in a border wall. I believe in security, security of our border, but a border wall does nothing, and it's a waste of money.
Okay. Biggest issue facing your community right now?
Biggest issue facing my community, that's going to be affordability with education, like right there. Affordability here in the Central Texas area is tough, and we're going to, sorry, rapid fire. I'm getting too much into it.
One word to describe your leadership style.
Accountability.
I know that's a good word. That's a great word. Now, one state program you'll cut to save money.
State program I would cut to save money. Does the Lone Star bill, that is this bill that was put into place to increase border security on the southern wall, that has done absolutely nothing. It's the one that pushed for the razor wire down on the river. Give us that money back. It's been 11 billion or more over the course of the time. Operation Lone Star, that has done absolutely zero when it comes to what it was intended to do. I'm all for having border security, making sure that we're funneling people to their proper places, so that they can come to ports of entry, so we can start them on their process. Our border security should look more like border rescue, because of people who try to cross in very dangerous areas. It should not be razor wire in the middle of a river that is trying to possibly snag and drown people. That is inhumane, unbelievable. And Operation Lone Star, we need that. That money was horribly spent, horribly done.
Well, Charlo said, you are nicer than me. I was going to say government pay or governor pay. I'm not sure. She said gov pay.
Government pay. Hey, gosh. Lone Star for me. Lone Star.
Okay. For me. All right. Well, again, if you have any questions for John, or you could request up or put them in the chat. As you see, I will read them off to him. Now, you just mentioned that the biggest issue you feel like is facing District 50 is affordability. So our next topic is affordable housing. You support policies that will prevent homelessness. What investments would you prioritize to prevent people being unhoused, such as rental assistance or eviction prevention and supportive housing before families reach crisis.
So, being part of the campaign, I've learned so much. And one of the areas that I think we need to work most with is the type of housing that is available here in Central Texas. We have the District 50, I believe, is about 60% renters, but we don't have enough. We have rental units, and then we have single family homes. We need more of that middle income housing available. Duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, kind of opportunities for people to still be able to afford it. There's going to be a couple of things that we need to talk about here in the state of Texas when it comes to affording a roof over your head. When it comes to single family homes, one, I want to see a moratorium on businesses, corporations being able to purchase single family homes to keep them on their books so that they have assets that they can then move on. These are taken out of the inventory for families, used as rentals. They are, again, for a corporation to have assets on their book, not for the people to be able to live in. That keeps costs artificially higher than they should be. So hopefully when we stop that, that would help drop a little bit. The other thing, property insurance in the state of Texas has risen incrementally over the last few years because of our natural disasters, hurricanes, floods, tornadoes. The state of Texas does receive a lot of extreme weather events, but at the same time, there is no blockage for our insurance premiums to increase. Companies can increase those without a review from any entity at the state. So our premiums have constantly gone up and up over the last few years. And that puts a very big pressure on many people who are of, I'm trying to say the, consistent income, like our retirees who have lived and worked in the state, but when they see their insurance, property insurance going up and up and up without adjustments to cost of living for their retired pensions. So that's going to address our single family home issues, hopefully, with removing the corporations, making sure we can cap how much insurers can raise premiums on families and or retirees, just on anybody. When we talk about rental assistance, we need to make sure that everybody does have a place to stay. And a lot of that's going to be conversations with also judges, like in the Justice of the Peace, who see many of the eviction notices coming through. Conversations with them to make sure that people are on the right track so that they can recoup and hopefully kind of bar that issue that we would see of families being evicted. So building more affordable housing, more levels of housing, stopping corporations from taking inventory out, keeping our insurance rates at reasonable amounts. And then we can have this conversation more of, when I talk about property taxes, everybody pays property taxes, whether it's directly through your single family home or it's a portion of your rent. Trying to offset that, decrease those increases we've seen over the years through other means of our corporate tax here in the state.
Okay. How important do you think it is for development? We had someone say that if we increase the supply, that it will curb the demand. So where do you think development falls in that?
Well, we have to continue building. We just need to. Texas is the fastest, if not second fastest, but we're one of the fastest growing states in the U.S. So we are seeing, a number of people that are coming here. So demand for housing is always going to be there. So it is about development. It is about, and while we can talk about this development, sometimes that conversation can be in two areas: new development or renovation of existing buildings to be housing, old offices. Now, sometimes that might be a little bit more expensive if it needs to be brought up to code for a livable space. But if it is already structurally sound, that might be the viable option because that space is there. So we need to talk about that in terms of building more renovation and making sure that, especially here in the Austin area, sometimes removing certain regulations on buildings, such as requirements for an allotted amount of parking spaces in, especially in like the downtown areas where people don't always have cars, making sure that we are aware of that fact, that requirement that was, is working to be removed. So we do need to be continued development, but sometimes it doesn't always say bring up this new land and we need to build, housing or complexes on it. Sometimes we need to look at existing structures and say, is it viable for us to refit this for housing? And then also, we see this in other areas and other cities where, and we have a little bit like a place called the Domain here for anybody that's not from Austin. We have Domain where it has shops, restaurants on the bottom and apartment complexes on top. We need to also think about how can we utilize our space better when we have commercial areas coming in to provide like grocery stores or shops. We need to go vertical with these too,
Right.
To allow for more apartment buildings. And I'm not talking high sky, 30, 40 floors, but if we increase, especially our retail areas, to have 2 to 3 floors above, we are talking about maintaining, what our current space is, but still allowing for more housing to be there.
I mean, that's how the big cities do it.
Yeah,
they take the airspace.
You go up, it's okay. We can. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of an environmental impact on that because you do need to drill down a little bit further to make sure it's structurally sound when we're talking about building upward. But it is there. We see it. We have many of these buildings already located in the downtown area that are 20, 30, 40 stories high. And why are we not thinking about that when we bring in new industry, new retail, just build a few more floors, and that's going to help. So,
well, that may be due to my next topic, which is natural resources. So District 50 grows and faces climate and infrastructure pressures. What principles would guide your decisions on managing Texas's natural resources? And how would you ensure long-term stewardship without harming local families and the economy?
So the first thing I want to bring up here on our natural resources here in Texas, one of the most important to me and to many people is water. I mentioned that we are one of the fastest growing states. So there is already a natural draw on the water supply here in Texas. And with our more extreme weather events, where we have long droughts, less rain over the course of the year, that impacts our primary water sources, which are our lakes and rivers. Our secondary, well, depending upon where you live, but we also have aquifers that are all part of it. And we've seen that some cities are now needing to drill into our aquifer water, which does not replenish at nearly the rate our rivers and lakes can. So we need to make sure we are good stewards of the water. First thing we need to do actually is to limit incoming industry, especially with regard to our AI data centers. They come in right now. Many of them don't have any regulation or plans when it comes to reuse or recycle water. They are a big pull on our fresh water, and they're being placed in smaller communities. They're not being placed dead center in the middle of Austin or in our district, but they're being placed in smaller communities that pulls on the water. So we need to, one, put a hold on them because they draw millions of gallons, and water is one of the most valuable resources we need to have as a future thought on how Texas is going to do. Second, the state of Texas, anybody can argue, which state is most beautiful, but the fact that the state has has such a varying degree of environments, it is ecologically just a beautiful area. We always need to be good stewards of our state to make sure that we have it for our future generations, for my kids, my grandkids. I want to make sure that they have that. So we always, anytime there is a build out, there is always an environmental impact report, and that needs to always happen. Anytime we have new industry, new development coming in, what is the environmental impact? And I feel very strongly that we need to adhere to that. It is about, we have several, laws in the books when it comes to our industry with regard to our environment. but it's not always adhered to. Our railroad commissioner who oversees not the railroads, surprisingly enough, they don't see anything railroads.
I learned that.
They oversee a lot of our oil and gas industry. And while we cannot turn off our oil and gas industry because it is such a big part of our economy and our exportation of LNG through places like Corpus Christi is some of the biggest, we need to make sure that we are adhering to our current and make sure that they're up to date any kind of our environmental guidelines with regard to our state. So I understand that it's not something we can turn off, but we need to make sure that we are adhering to what we put out there currently. And to make sure that families have opportunities when we bring in people. Green space is a very big topic when we talk about developing. For families to have opportunities to enjoy where they're living, green space is very important. It is also a heat reducer. Green space, there's been reviews. I used to have a student.
Green space is a organization?
No, green space just being trees. When we talk
green
about
space.
green space, yeah, green space is a heat reducer. So I had a student with one of our programs that reviewed cities and reviewed heat maps of cities and noticed they did research and they found that areas that had a large number of trees, large number of parks with dense foliage had reduction in heat. So we need to always ensure that we are trying to provide green space in communities so that we're talking about bringing down heat, especially here in Texas. That is an issue. But that's part of community. Having a place that families can get together outside and be part of a community is very important. So having green space when we are developing out, it's not about building giant parking lots for a retail center. We need to think vertical and think green space, because we need to be thinking not 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road. It also needs to be thought of, what is this impact going to be 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road? And then last, transportation. We have such an increase of people here in Texas, and especially in the Austin area. We are really actually far behind. I believe we are far behind. A lot of the big cities in Texas, they have nice big loops. Yes, they get traffic and they get full. San Antonio has 2, Houston has 2, Dallas, even Lubbock has a loop to help, traffic kind of go around it. Austin, we don't. We have this square, and it does not work efficiently. It does not work efficiently. So we need to make sure that we have good infrastructure and try and building out so that traffic, especially that's coming through the center of Austin, is people coming in. If we can try to move people around it. And we've had this conversation with organizations like Aura, who are trying to increase public transportation, light rail. We have very limited public transportation for a city the size of Austin. Our public transportation has not kept up, and so it's also about removing some barriers so that organizations or city councils like Austin City Council, Round Rock, and Pflugerville can work together to try and build out their public transportation that can help connect these areas. So sometimes it's also about removing a barrier for the city to work that in. So
yeah.
I hope that kind of answered. I feel like
it does. It does. I mean, you kind of even went into my next question, which was about planning for and being prepared for extreme weather and environmental stress and natural disasters. What plans do you expect to bring to the State House when it comes to making sure that y'all are disaster ready?
So a lot of that I'm going to say is, again, about putting directives, especially to our county commissioners. Our county commissioners court are kind of like the city council of the county, and they make a lot of decisions, and they've done some good stuff here in Austin, but it still needs work, still needs directives. And that would be one of the first things I try to push toward is, county commissioners, are you prepared for natural disasters? No, how can we help? Because you're going to know your community and your county better than me sitting down at the Capitol. What it is, do your communities have 2 exits in case that there's a fire, multiple exits just in case of the fire, not a one-way in, one-way out community? Texas, we have dry spells and we're very susceptible to large fires. We're very susceptible with our long droughts to flash flooding. And unfortunately, last year we had a very tragic incident that occurred with Camp Mystic, and that is preparation for being next to a river in an area like this. Like I said, we have the history of floods, but we do not have always the forethought that we should be prepared for them when we're right next to the river. So again, pushing to the counties to say, what do you need? And how are we going to prepare you for that? Because you're experiencing that much more closely than we are in Austin. So that would be some of the first things to do is directives to the county commissioners' courts of our dozens and dozens and hundreds of counties around the state is, are you prepared if there is a natural disaster? And if not, why not? And what can we do to help secure that? So I don't think it's always about making a law. I think sometimes the state legislature should be pushing directives for communities to say, are you prepared? Yes or no? And if it's a no, how can we help?
Right.
Because your issues might be different than mine, might be different than Houston, because Houston is very susceptible to hurricane. So flood damage there. Definitely, Panhandle is not having that experience. Here in Austin, we're having kind of both. We are very close to possible fire issues. And we are very, any of our areas that have our rivers are very susceptible to flooding. So we need to make sure that we are addressing these issues right off the bat.
Absolutely. Now, this is a little off, but do you think that Texas needs more money, or do they just need to reallocate the money better?
They need to reallocate. We have the funds, the wherewithal. Shiloh talking about, Governor, you don't need this mansion. We have the funds there, but it shouldn't always be about who's going to pay for this. There are federal programs that do allow for that we can apply for to receive federal funding as well as state funding. My dad always tells me, never be afraid to say, accept that money that is offered to you. So if it's there, we should be looking for it. So if it is a federal program that does allow for things like fire preparedness or things like that, then yes, let's connect that county with the proper resources so that they can get that funding. I'm not saying that we're, Texas, we can try and be the best of both here. Use some federal funding that's available, at the same time provide that funding from our state coffers. We have that availability, I think.
Absolutely.
As long as we are good stewards of the money that's provided for us, and not these backdoor deals that the governor puts through, who stopped, we're going to call this out, he's basically stopped bidding, so that they can choose whatever contract or whatever program. The bidding has gone away, so they pick their friends, and the people put in a higher number.
What are you saying? The billionaires don't need any more tax breaks? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sure I'm not the first person on here to say something along these lines, that the friends of the people that are in charge are getting the opportunities of a lifetime, and they've had hundreds of lifetime opportunities just in their
short span. Well, look, so we're going to do the second round of rapid fire. Okay. This is just a little more fun.
I'll try to be a little bit more straightforward.
This should be easier yes or no or quick answers, right? Okay. So text or call?
What?
Text or call?
Text or call? Text.
Okay. A sports car or a pickup?
Pickup. My very first truck. 05. I still have it. 05 Chevy. Very first, yeah.
You look like a pickup guy. Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Smooth.
Thank you. These people be answering the wrong answer. Would you rather a time machine or a magic wand?
A magic wand.
Okay. Tex-Mex or authentic Mexican?
Ooh. Being from Texas, that is so hard. Tex-Mex.
Okay.
Texas, yeah.
What is your favorite Texas history moment?
Ooh, favorite Texas history moment. Um. Oh wow, this is gonna be.
I mean, Texas has had a major
We have a long history. We're about to come up on our Texas Independence Day. We have just next week. So that's always a cool thing, but it is a very dark history at times. We were
Mm-hmm.
not the best of states, especially to the people, to the indigenous, to Mexicans, to Black African Americans. We
Mm-hmm.
were not the best. We were far from it. But Texas independence is coming up, so that's always a little bit of pride for people. I always say that we're one of the best sports states, but that's its whole genre in
Oh,
itself.
that's coming up. That's coming up.
Okay. Best Texas history moment.
When I thought of this question, I was between Alamo and Juneteenth. All right. Um, but
Juneteenth it's that's such a unique, for it to be, from Galveston, to be part of the awareness that the Civil War is over, but it's been years. Alamo is something anybody who hasn't been to the Alamo, you realize, whoa, it's only that tall and that big. It's much depicted very differently on
yeah.
TV. Um,
When I thought of this, when I came about this question, it was telling me about the history of the word you said when we first started, meaning friendship.
Chaos, yeah.
Tejas, yeah, they was talking about the Tejas people or the area, and this is where they had to come through in order to before they made Austin or whatever, like something to do with that. So,
Um, I'm not sure 100%. I know that Tejas, that's the Caddo word. Again, that was a mixture that was then kind of brought into Spanish and used as this area. And again, it meant friendship. We can talk about the partnerships that the state of Texas built with some of the indigenous tribes, but at the same time, we were very, our rangers have a very spotted history with our interactions with the indigenous people of this area. Um,
yeah.
God, man, I didn't think this one would be so hard. I thought I could pick something really.
Look,
Hey,
we gonna move.
favorite part of history of Texas is that Houston is the home base for NASA. When we talk about a lot of the stuff, the exploration, it is based there in NASA. So that's always something really cool, I think, about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, the granite from our capital is just mined just outside near Fredericksburg. It's this beautiful pink granite. Yeah,
Pink granite.
it has this pink hue to it. It's really cool. We have this wonderful dome out west of Austin. It's called Enchanted Rock, and it's a really cool place to go out and hike. It's one of our state parks. We have so many state parks. But yeah, so it's a really cool place. But yeah, the granite that was used for that comes from there. So that's really cool.
All right. Now this is the true test to see if you really are now a Texas boy. Okay. Your favorite thing to barbecue?
So my favorite thing to eat or to barbecue myself, that because
Yeah, you got the barbecue, but
we
I
do.
mean, if you can, what is the favorite thing you like barbecue?
I mean, I love brisket. I love barbecue brisket here in the state. But I will say my cousin has an absolutely wonderful pork shoulder barbecue that he makes. He's a pit master here in Austin down at Church Row. So that's always super great. I love it because they, being part of a family, they have helped try and combine. When you talked about Tex-Mex earlier on the food, barbecue, which is very inherently kind of a southern thing. We have Texas. We also have an influence from Mexico, South America with tacos. So we have this wonderful little collab between like Tex-Mex and barbecue, where you get your brisket taco or your pork tacos. But they're
They go together,
they
right?
go together. It's unbelievable.
That's Tex-Mex for you.
Yeah.
All right. Longhorns or Aggies?
Oh, Longhorns.
That was quick. Astros or Rangers?
Can I say Spurs? Because I'm not a baseball person.
Okay.
But I grew up loving with Tim Duncan. I have his my grandma got me his rookie shirt. I still have it. I don't fit in it, but yeah, Spurs. Sorry.
All right. Texans or Cowboys?
Okay, neither. Texans if I have to pick.
Okay.
But I was born in California, so my first football game I ever got to go to was the 49ers.
49ers. I think you gonna say that. Boo. I am a Commander fan myself, so you good. You can say the Texans. Okay. I ain't got much beef with the Texans yet. Now I threw in this food, and I supposed to ask it earlier, but chili or chili con queso?
Is it chili with beans, which is not the Texas way?
Well, I mean, I guess.
Chili con queso. You should have thrown in Frito pie. Then that would have been
Frito pie too.
Yeah,
yes.
That's what they have at all the football games. You get your little bag of Fritos, and then they pour chili in it and some cheese, and then bam, you're off on your way. I don't know if that's in other schools, other states. Is
right. Well, Frito pie.
Frito pie.
I mean, I've heard of it, but it's definitely a Texas thing.
Okay.
Yes. PD, you already knew I was a Commander fan. What you mean? Last question. Okay. Jasmine or James?
I have my own. I keep it here.
Okay.
Because it is a very dividing topic. It's one of these where I think somebody have used this in certain instances where we talk an embarrassment of riches. Like both of these people are absolutely amazing at what they do. One, yes. I'm coming into the seat that was James Talarico. Mm-hmm. So he was an inspiration for me. He worked as a teacher in education. I was in education outreach with the university. I worked with students. So we come with a very similar background. Mm-hmm. So I do have that a bit of association. At the same time, Jasmine has been such a force, not only as a civil rights attorney, but a representative for the people up in Dallas. Mm-hmm. She is, people, they call her, sometimes kind of bulldogish because she has power. She has grit.
Tenacity.
Yeah. So there are things on both sides that I have very much a appreciation for the work that they've done.
Have you voted yet?
I have.
Okay.
I did. I had the opportunity, and it was absolutely wonderful to select myself.
I was going to say, did you vote for yourself?
I did. I made a TikTok of it where I clipped it to Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec, where she was able to vote for herself for city council. Mm-hmm. Very first time. It was emotional for her. It was emotional for me to see my name on there and be able to kind of hit that button. So yes, I have already voted. And
That's good. Well, my last topic, and we're going to go over just a little bit, y'all, about 10 minutes because we started so late. But the last topic we're going to talk about is accountability, which is perfect since this is your leadership style, right? How can the state invest more in prevention, such as we already talked about that: preventive health care, domestic violence services, community-based programs to reduce long-term costs and keep families safe. Now, let me give you the second one too, because we can kind of put this all together. Many families in District 5 want safer communities while respecting responsible weapon ownership, okay? Because we can't say the GUN word.
Okay.
How would you work in the Texas House of Representatives to advance common sense laws such as background checks, safe storage, and reduce the violence without infringing on constitutional rights? So again, I want you to kind of just give me preventive. We talk about just preventing, and what policies are you putting forth to,
So a couple of things, safer communities, that's just something that should always be on people's minds. And a lot of times we have discussed this, there is sometimes a bit of hesitancy from a community with a particular organization. And while I fully feel that we should trust our police, there are times that they have broken trust, and we need to rebuild that. And that would be something that's on directives from Austin City Council, as well as our County Commissioners Court with the Sheriff's Office here, especially in District 50, is how are we going to rebuild our trust in our local law enforcement here in the state and here in District 50. So we need to start there, rebuilding trust, because a lot of communities have lost it. Now, how can I, as a state legislature, try and reduce violence and one of the highest number of death of perishing of children is accidents with
the weapons.
With weapons. And so we need to, yes, for certain, we need to have universal background checks. When I've spoken to those who own, they understand that. They say there should be nothing that I'm hiding from, that a background check should be part of it. If people are against it, here's the question: why are you against it? It does not infringe upon your opportunity and your right to purchase said such items. A background check needs to be implemented across this state, because we have already seen those who purchased and background checks, but also red flag laws to people who are a possible danger, not just to others, but to themselves. I don't know if you can utilize that word here, but people who end themselves is a drastic issue here in Central Texas. And when they have availability of munition and that, then it is more evident and a quicker instance. So red flag laws that would address people who are not just a danger to people elsewhere, but to themselves. That they should be able to, we should come in with counseling. And this is where we're going to come back again to how do we build trust back into our local law enforcement? Well, it's also about making sure that it's not only police officers that are the ones engaged. We need to encourage them that they have other staff that are de-escalators, staff that come in that are more prone to working in social work with people with issues, not people coming in, holsters ready to go, because again, they've lost that trust. So we need to make sure that our local law enforcement here in the area does have a variety of measures that they can address a situation. So when they get that calling, is this a situation that does require police, or is it somebody that needs to come and speak to somebody about a social work case, or something that needs to be de-escalated? And then people who are more aptly trained for those particular situations are the ones that are going and being there for that. So
every time a domestic violence call come in, they got the numbers. This is a 512 or something.
Yeah.
When the 512 comes up, they go with you.
Yeah, we should have much more a spread of available resources for people that are reaching out to, when they call 911. Is this something that is, police need to show up, or is it, again, somebody that's de-escalating or of a different nature? So, but yeah, red flag laws, closing these gun show loopholes where people just can purchase them outright, and having universal background checks. These are basic things that the majority of people want, and they do not infringe. That is, people say, oh, well, it infringes, but for some reason they forgot the last 2/3 of the Second Amendment. They only remember, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. They forgot the last section of that, which is, they forgot the first section of that, which is, in order to have a secure union, the right to form a militia. Is there. So are you part of a militia or not?
Right.
Not. What are you talking about? Is your right? So
I literally had someone tell me one day, if I want to have a tank in my driveway, I should be able to have a tank in my driveway. Sir, go join the military or something. I don't know what to tell you.
I have met a person or two that is like that.
Like, what do you need a tank for? Who are you coming against? Like,
Yeah.
what? So last topic on question is about, let me read it how I got it. Texas's district maps are often criticized for gerrymandering. How do you believe partisan redistricting affects representation, voter turnout, and accountability in District 50? And would you support reforms such as independent redistricting commissions to ensure fair maps that reflect your community?
Okay, I'm going to try and be just straightforward with this, that yes, we have had such an issue, especially, one, we got put onto the national map because of our recent gerrymandering for our congressional districts at the request of Trump to try and gain several seats. And then we saw a reaction by other states like California to then, well, we're not going to let you do this. And that was, our Democrats here in Texas broke quorum to bring attention to the issue at hand. Many of them who broke quorum were then, they were targeted by people here in Texas who said, they're traitors, they should lose their job, they should be, several of them called for them to be hung because they're traitors to the state. So the fact that Texas even put that out there is just abysmal to me, that we would consider a redistricting in the middle of census where it's not called for. That just shows you where that idea came from, what was the background behind it, because it did not come from a normal standard procedure. I fully feel that we should kind of turn this over to a little bit of computer programming, equal space dots that are however number of congressional candidates we have, and then it is a population growth. It does not take into account economical standpoint. It doesn't take into account any kind of racial standpoint. It takes account population standpoint. And that's, one of the things that I think we should do is then we are removing several of these factors. When you have gerrymandered maps like we have today, that does decrease your representation. Texas is a diverse state. We are a very diverse state, but we do not have the diversity of representation that I think we should. It is important to have a diverse representation that is indicative of the people that live here, and we do not have that right now. And so I think supporting independent review of our, those that are building the maps, taking personal bias out of it by utilizing computer program modeling to do these maps on a population basis only, are ways that we can try and address our current gerrymandering, how we can then have adequate representation of our diverse communities across the state. So,
absolutely. There's a drink for you as we end this this wonderful town hall. I mean, you have been a breath of fresh air for me. If I knew, I do know someone in Austin, so I don't know if she's in 50, but I shared this out with her, but I would definitely tell her to look out for your name if she has not already voted, because, like I said, first you came up and you was able to do your background without any assistance, right? But then you also probably has had the least amount of fruit in that chat. And we put fruit in the chat to kind of throw the algorithm off if people are saying too many words that TikTok don't like. So you have probably had the least amount of fruit of any candidate that we've had up here. So congratulations on that. You was able to follow the TikTok rules. I'm 100%, you win the vote for me. If I lived in Texas, you got it. That takes intelligence, okay? Last question. If elected, hey, Siobhan, if elected, how will you measure success on healthcare, affordability, housing stability, and family safety? And how will you report back progress back to District 50 residents?
How will we measure success in these areas? First, we need to understand what is our baseline. Where are we in terms of our healthcare? We can utilize current national rankings where we are, 38th in some of these things like healthcare. We're near the bottom in education, safety. We can use kind of these standard numbers, but we need to have a baseline to understand have we improved? So the first thing we need to do is take a measure. Where are we in terms of healthcare? What is the opportunity for affordability here in Texas and in District 50? So getting a baseline. Then if we are going to be successful, it is about how are we putting together bills that are bipartisan, because the possibility that Democrats here in Texas take over the House, it's very slim. It's possible. It's possible, but the numbers are still against us right now. We need to gain 14 seats in the legislature and several in the Senate to be able to have those majorities. While I hope that's a possibility, it might not be. So we need to have bipartisan legislation. We need to address with Republicans these issues, and I fully feel that is a possibility when we talk maybe more on single issues. If we find those Republicans, somebody on the other side of the aisle that maybe has family who have issues with healthcare, well, how can we work together and address that? So the bills that we're able to push forward, get signed, and then we need to reevaluate. Did we see improvement from that original baseline? Mm-hmm. Are we seeing more people with insurance? Are we seeing a growth in our number of students who are continuing in education, or however we're going to measure it first? Take another grasp at it after the legislative session. And sometimes these things, they are not going to be measured after one session. They might be 4 years down the road that we're going to start to see some return on this investment that we've made. So it's not always going to be, is it right away? We need to make sure that we're also saying, okay, but it might take a little bit of time for us to get all of this through.
So as a regular old American citizen, I'm going to tell you, the people in this environment that we're in today, folks are going to need to feel tangibles. It is I mean, like, we're going to have to feel it. We can't say, oh, we put in all of this. Biden did one of the greatest infrastructure packages ever, but people are just now seeing the works of it, just now. And so while he can say that's what he did, folks like, I don't see no difference. We are going to have to see something, feel something. You can do some of the stuff.
Yeah, hopefully we're seeing it. When we're able to get 1.5 million more people on insurance, that is a tangible number. We're going to see that people have that now. When we start to see that we've reduced classroom size, those are numbers that we can have right away.
And then you have to go out here and scream it from the rooftop until their people are nauseated, like he does. I mean, I'm so sick of hearing about the murderers and the rapists that they let out the prisons from all over the world. Like, he says it ad nauseum, that it gets stuck. So you need to be yelling that, like, hey, every week you come on TV, the class sizes is down 10 people. The class sizes is down another 5 people. The class sizes is down another 2 people. We now have 10 people per teacher. Like, just be drilling it into them, because it's so much misinformation that you have to be on top of it, and you have to make it plain and clear. And also people live in bubbles, right? So while they think they might have got some insurance, it might be good for them, they don't know that you did it for 1,000 other people. So you have to make it clear. Yes, got it. Again, I thank you so much. I thank you so much for this conversation tonight. It has definitely been a pleasure. Please tell the people of Austin, the people of Texas, how they can support you, where they can find you, and when is their last day to vote.
Yeah, so if you're here in the Austin area, you can check us out. Our website, johnhashfortexas.com. You can find us on multiple social medias, if that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all under the name John Hash for Texas. And the last day to vote coming up is Tuesday, March 3rd. We've just finished. Today was the last day of early voting. So definitely check out votetexas.gov. You can find your voting locations, polls, check out the League of Women Voters so you can know whoever else is on your ballot. And not just all of us for state representative, like John Hash for District 50, but check out everybody else that's on your ballot. So vote 411 can get you a lot of that information. VoteTexas.gov. Those two places can help you with that information. So yeah.
All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all for joining and sticking around, listening to me and John have a conversation. As I've told him, I think he is a great candidate. I wish he was. Well, I can't say you in my local district, because I'm already trying to help the woman get into the Capitol.
Yeah.
I got my pick for that.
Yeah.
But you could be my local person. Yeah, I've been in good shape. So I told you we got a lot of Texans coming through here. Tomorrow we have another Texan. We're gonna move over to Torrent County tomorrow. Okay, so we have a young man by the name of Brian Willett, and he is running for juvenile. Oh, let me see what this. Juvenile judge. So he's running for a judge seat in Torrent County, Arlington, Texas.
Oh.
So we're having him come by tomorrow.
Is that Tarrant County?
Torrent. That's my city accent. I'm sorry. I'm from DC. What you want? Tarrant County. And that's at 8:00 tomorrow. So if everyone, make sure you join us. At 8:00 tomorrow, we will be talking to Brian Willett from Tarrant County. Tarrant County.
Yeah.
And he's running for a juvenile judge seat. So in case you don't know, you get to vote for your judges too, people. The whole, like he said, the whole ballot. So again, thank you all for joining us. I also would like to invite you, John, look for an email where we do what's called a roundtable, a candidate roundtable. And we have candidates come back and visit us, about 5 or 6 of them. And they just kind of have conversation about current events, what's going on, shoot ideas with each other, bounce them off each other, and get each other ready for these midterms and what's to come. So we do them on Sundays at 3:00 every other Sunday. So the first one is coming up this Sunday for March, and March 1st, and then we got one on the 15th and the 29th. So be looking for an email for that, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right. Again, if anyone out there would like to be moderating like myself and talk to great candidates like John here, please DM our vote counts. We are definitely looking for some more moderators to help us. This is a big job, and we trying to make a difference. So y'all DM our vote counts, and we can get you in here, get you trained up, and you be ready to talk to candidates like John in no time. Let me just remind you all of who we are and where you came today. We are Our Vote Counts. We are a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we are building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. So continue to join us, because your vote is your power.